It wasn't your animal. You were somewhere unfamiliar. Someone's house, a barn, a backyard. And there was an animal there that supposedly didn't warm up to people. A dog that kept its distance. A cat that disappeared when guests arrived. And it came straight to you. Settled next to you like it had been waiting. Like it already knew something. Someone said, "That's so strange. She never does that." And you didn't have an explanation. But somewhere underneath the surprise, there was something else. Something quieter. Relief. Because here was a creature that looked at you. Not at your job, not at your history, not at the version of yourself you've been carefully managing in front of people. And just stayed. No audition, no conditions, no waiting to see if you'd disappoint it. You've had relationships with humans that never gave you that. And that's not a small thing. That's actually the whole story. Think about what your body does around most people. There's a low-level alertness underneath most social interactions. You're reading tone, tracking small shifts in expression, monitoring whether the conversation is going somewhere safe. You might not notice you're doing it, but your nervous system is working, constantly making small calculations. It's not paranoia. It's pattern recognition built from experience. Now think about what happens when an animal walks into the room. Something in your chest loosens. Your breathing changes, slower, fuller. The background hum of alertness dials down. You didn't decide to relax. Your body just did it, the way it does when something registers as genuinely safe. For a lot of people, that release is rare, and they've stopped expecting it from humans. Here's the part that psychology keeps circling back to. This didn't start as a preference. For most people who feel this way, it started as an adaptation. Research on childhood development shows that children who grew up in emotionally unpredictable environments, homes where moods shifted without warning, where love felt conditional, where being too sensitive carried real consequences, those children develop nervous systems that stay on alert. Reading the room becomes automatic. Trust becomes something extended carefully in small amounts. Animals bypassed all of that. They don't have agendas. They don't perform warmth to get something later. They don't file away your vulnerabilities for future use. They don't have a version of you they're trying to manage. They just respond to what's actually there. And for someone whose nervous system has been finely tuned to detect inauthenticity, that simplicity isn't just pleasant. It's physiologically different. Here's what's paradoxical about all of this. The people who feel most deeply connected to animals are often the most capable of profound human connection. They're not cold. They feel things deeply. They're perceptive to a degree that can be exhausting. They notice what's unsaid in a conversation. They carry other people's emotions home with them. They're not disconnected from human feeling. They're overloaded by it. The same sensitivity that makes someone attuned to an animal's distress from across a room picks up every undercurrent of tension in a dinner party, every slight shift in a friend's tone, everything that isn't being said in a conversation that probably should be. Depth of feeling is not the problem. The problem is that depth of feeling in human relationships comes with risk that animals don't carry. When you love something that can betray you, judge you, or weaponize what you gave them, loving deeply becomes a calculation. You learn to hold something back. You learn to stay slightly behind the glass. With animals, there's no glass. And the relief of that, loving without armor, is something that once you've felt it, you spend the rest of your life quietly looking for. In 2022, a study published in BMC Psychiatry looked at attachment patterns in over 600 people. What they found cut against the common assumption that people who prefer animals to humans are somehow emotionally avoidant or underdeveloped. The data showed the opposite. People with insecure attachment styles, those who had experienced inconsistent or painful early bonds with caregivers, formed the strongest attachments to their pets. Not the weakest, the strongest. Their capacity for deep connection hadn't disappeared. It had relocated to somewhere it wouldn't get hurt. This matters because it reframes everything. When you feel more at home with animals than with people, It isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that something was wrong with what you were given. Your ability to attach, to trust, to love without conditions, it's fully intact. It just learned to go somewhere safe. The physiology backs this up. Studies measuring cortisol and oxytocin levels found that spending time with a familiar animal, not a stranger's pet, but one you know, reliably reduces stress hormones and increases bonding hormones. The effect is measurable. It's not metaphor. Your body chemistry actually changes. But here's the piece most people don't talk about. Psychologists who work in trauma and attachment use the term corrective emotional experience, a relationship that teaches a nervous system something it didn't learn early enough, that it's safe to be seen, that opening up doesn't inevitably lead to being hurt, that love doesn't always come with a hidden cost. For many people, that first corrective experience wasn't with a person. It was with an animal. And there's something else worth naming directly. When you lose an animal, when a pet dies, grief that profound often gets minimized by the people around you. Just a dog, just a cat. You can get another one. But neuroscience doesn't make that distinction. The brain processes the loss of an attachment figure through the same neural pathways regardless of species. The bond was real. The grief is real. The people who dismiss it are wrong. Here's what this all actually means. And it's not what most people expect. Feeling closer to animals than to people is not a sign that you've given up on human connection. It's not evidence of damage or withdrawal or a heart that's closed. It's evidence that your capacity for love is still intact. You went looking for a place to put it where it wouldn't be used against you. And you found one. The animal didn't ask you to earn it. Didn't make you wait to see if you'd prove worthy. Didn't give you warmth in public and take it back in private. It just let you love it. Fully, without the performance. And the love you gave that animal, the way you noticed when it was off, the way you adjusted your whole day around its needs, the way you felt its absence like a change in air pressure. That's not a lesser kind of love because it wasn't directed at a human. That's what love actually looks like when it doesn't have to defend itself. The animal saw something in you. Something the people in your life may have been too distracted, too defended, or too careless to notice. What it saw was real. If you're reading this sitting near an animal right now, or thinking about one you've lost, or one you're afraid of losing, this is for you. You didn't end up here because you're strange. You didn't end up here because something in you is broken or too sensitive for the world. You ended up here because you needed somewhere to put your love where it would be safe. And that creature, whatever it was, whatever it is, gave you that. It asked nothing except your presence. And in return, it gave you something a lot of humans couldn't manage. It let you be exactly who you are. Not the edited version. Not the version that's careful about how much it shows. Not the version that learned to stay slightly reserved because experience taught you what happens when you don't. Just you. If that bond is the truest thing in your life right now, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to explain or apologize for. The animal already knew who you were.